Well, all morning long, we are celebrating the history that's highlighted here at Heritage Park, and nobody better to talk to in this entire city than historian Harry Sanders. Harry, also, if you could hold it, can you hold that up for us? The author of a new commemorative book titled Heritage Park Historical Village, How the West Was Once, which I think is just like the best logo or saying in the world. I think it's fantastic. So let's talk about this. I mean, this is a real slice or slices of history here.
Oh, it really is. And 50 years ago, when Heritage Park began, the things that were in the park were within the living memory, of people who either worked here or came to visit, and even construction of it. They had to perpetuate old trades. You see pictures of Heritage Park being built, and you could think it's the CPR being built in the 1880s, right. That kind of thing. And some of the people who worked at the park originally had worked in those occupations or those trades, so they were just doing what they had done earlier.
How many of the buildings here on the land are original buildings?
Oh, it's a good question, and I know there's an answer. I haven't got it. I know early on, I would believe that the majority were original, with some reconstructions, like the Wainwright Hotel being one of them. I think more recently, more of them have been reconstructions. One example is the Nellie McClung Center,
yes,
that just opened this year, that is patterned after her house, which is still in its original location in the Beltline. I
took a tour of that, and we'll take you on a tour in just a little bit. Let's talk about the Montefiore Institute that's here, the synagogue. I discovered that the last time I was here, and I had no idea.
Yeah, it does come as a surprise when you're walking in the park. It's one of the first buildings you see, and it's eye-catchingly yellow.
Yes.
But it's a synagogue, and the organization, Irina Karstenbaum, and the Little Synagogue on the Prairie Society were just wanting to recreate. They were doing research to find out about old prairie synagogues, of which there were. There were Jewish block settlements, just as there were other ethnic block settlements. And in their research, they managed to come up with an old synagogue that had become disused, turned into a house, and moved to Hannah. And they acquired it, brought it into Heritage Park, and restored it. So it's a nice counterpart to St. Martin's Anglican Church here, or to the Al Rashid Mosque in Fort Edmonton Park. It's a real delight. And my father grew up in one of those Jewish block settlements, wow, attended a country synagogue near Rumsey, north of Drumheller. So it has personal meaning for me, too. And
I think you should also want to highlight the fact that the people who work here are so well-versed in the areas that they're in. So you can really come in and get a full history lesson. It's not just looking around. You can get the whole story, right?
Oh, absolutely. The staff are indeed well-versed in that. And I worked at Heritage Park back in the 80s, not only knowing history now for my work, but I'm a staff alumnus. And I'm just so impressed when I come here at what the staff knows and how history really comes to life here.
Tell us more. You mentioned this before, but tell us more about the Wainwright Hotel, historically speaking.
Well, a large part of the original iteration of Heritage Park in the 1960s was a railway village. And you couldn't have a railway village without the hotel. It was the biggest landmark in town. It was a place for Sunday dinner, and service clubs would meet there, and that was the place to drink. That was the place to catch up on the news. So they had to have a hotel, and the Wainwright Hotel is reconstructed. The original burnt down in 1929, although I've stayed in the hotel in Wainwright that replaced it.
Yeah.
You can look into the rooms and see the dentist at work, which would have happened in an early hotel. Guest rooms, things like that. Even the two-story outhouse, which is the authentic portion of the hotel.
Wow.
It's from a different hotel, from the Windsor Hotel in Lundbreck, which burned in the 60s. But the two-story outhouse, which is staggered, by the way, to recognize the reality of gravity.
That's a good idea.
Anyway, it's just a delight, and fully functional. I mean, you can't stay there overnight, but my brother-in-law and sister-in-law were married there, and I think a lot of Calgarians could say the same.
What an incredible place to explore, and always incredible to pick your brain. Harry Sanders, local historian, and I know you're getting ready for Historic Calgary Week. Starts on July 25th, so we'll talk to you then, I hope. And more information at breakfasttelevision.ca. Don't forget to pick up this book. You can get it here, right, Harry?
In the shop, yes.